Hey, I'm Jay Horton. I make movies that make money. This is how. Time and time again, you'll hear filmmakers saying that it's next to impossible to make any money with no budget feature films. That at best they're for exposure or audience building. Bullshit. Look, making money with micro budget features is not easy. It's not even statistically likely, but you can make money with these movies. And you can do it without being rich, without a successful producing uncle, without living in Los Angeles or some other industry hotbed. The tools to create, distribute, and market feature films are readily available to pretty much everyone. It's up to us to take advantage of them. Here's 5 quick ways that you can make money with your no-budget films. 1. Release it yourself. Self-release, either through your own website or places like Vimeo On Demand or Gumroad. And yes, if it's a narrative film, you can still hit up Amazon. At least as far as I know. That's changing daily. But anyway, anyone can upload their movies to these places and offer them up for rental and purchase. In Vimeo's case, you set the price and you split the money with Vimeo. You get 90%, they get 10%, at least last I looked. But keep in mind that with pretty much all of these options, it'll be up to you to drive traffic to your movie. There's almost zero incidental traffic or discoverability on platforms like Vimeo and Gumroad. Now, as far as Amazon goes, if you get on there, you'll have access to a much larger native audience. And for rental and purchase, I believe they're taking 50% these days. It might be 40. Now, Amazon Prime, that's a whole nother story. But if your film is approved for Prime and your film has some mass appeal and you're good at marketing, you can make some bucks there, in spite of the 1 cent an hour rate if your CER is below 60%. If that last little bit was a little Greek to you, you can check out this video here on Amazon. It breaks all of that down. Let's move on to number 2. Find a distributor that specializes in these types of movies. There are several distributors out there that do specialize in lower budgeted stuff. Indie Rights, Gravitas Ventures, Vision Films, ITN, Terra Films, Wild Eye Releasing, to name a few. They're out there, but just make sure to do your due diligence and do some research on any distributor before signing a deal with them. Look out for overly long term lengths. I personally wouldn't sign a license on an independent feature that was over 5 years, unless the other aspects in the contracts were just aces. Also, look out for splits that are over 30%. Unless the distributor is bringing some substantial marketing and support or some sort of upfront pay, anything over 30% for their end is a scam, in my opinion. Number 3, use an aggregator or marketplace to put your films onto platforms that you can't get to on your own. This can also be used in conjunction with number 1. Basically, this is self-distribution. But you're paying someone either upfront in the case of an aggregator like Bitmax, or on the back end in the case of a marketplace like FilmHUB, to get your films onto these platforms that you may not be able to reach yourself. Platforms like Tubi TV, like Pluto TV, like iTunes, or Apple Movies now? Whatever they call it. Vudu, Hulu. And keep in mind that in the case of these aggregators, they don't guarantee placement. Like they'll charge you whatever the $1,000 and say, hey, we'll place you on Netflix. Then if Netflix turns it down, I think they refund the money minus like some kind of fee. But for micro-budgeted films like under, say, $20,000, between these two, I think the best course of action is a market like FilmHUB, or even a distributor like Indie Rights, where there are no sales fees or hidden marketing costs. It's just a straight 20% take for them on the back end, but there's no upfront pay. And as far as paying upfront aggregators goes, the overall returns on movies at this level can be so small, there's a big chance that you won't even recoup those upfront costs, which can go north of $1,000 per platform. In the end, and honestly, this is just me, I just don't like taking that risk, and I just don't like to pay up front for placement. Now, of course, if your film has great market potential, some name talent, insane production value, etc., it might be a good idea to do one of the pay upfront ones like Bitmax. If the movie ends up making a ton of money, in the end, the back end of, say, like FilmHUB could potentially lose you money in the long run since they're taking 20% in perpetuity. Number 4, release on YouTube. Seriously, it's a thing. You can make some money, but this one comes with a big caveat. First off, to make any money whatsoever, your channel has to be monetized for you to see any money from YouTube ad revenue. The current threshold on YouTube for monetization is 4,000 hours streamed in the last 12 months and 1,000 subscribers. If you're not monetized, you have 2 choices when it comes to YouTube. You can either find a larger channel that is already monetized and you can license your film to them and split the revenue, or you can place the movie on your channel that's not monetized and try to build up to the monetization. Now, the latter, the building up, is probably preferable in the long run, but it can be a very long and hard journey. And if you're not really dedicated to growing your YouTube channel, then you're probably better off just licensing it to someone else. I mean, it took me over 8 months to monetize my YouTube channel once I started trying. But I think the averages might be a little longer. I did have one movie that I put up after I was monetized, and that video on its own, which was completely different from my usual YouTube content, it gained me over 200,000 views and 1,000 subscribers in less than a month. So like, I could have made monetization just based on that one video if I hadn't have been. So it is possible, but my short-term advice is to seek out that larger channel. Chances are they're going to have a bigger audience anyway, and the movie will get more views and earn more money. And as far as YouTube goes and the amount of money you can make, it's really, and I hate to be like waffly about this, but it really depends on the individual movie. The CPM is based on the advertiser friendliness of the movies. So I have movies, I have probably 10 up on YouTube, and I have some that have CPMs of like $9 and $10. That means you make like $9 or $10 per 1,000 views. But I have others, like some like horror stuff with some graphic violence and nudity that's a little less advertising friendly, and those can have CPMs as low as like $1. So you can see the amounts can be all over the place. And another thing you can do if you're going to go the YouTube route is you could start out with that like number 1, like the Vimeo or Gumroad thing. You can start out there for rental and sale. And then once that starts to fall off a little bit, then you can go to YouTube. It's basically called windowing. Number 5, crowdsourcing. Screen your movie and behind the scenes videos and extras on a Patreon for a subscription fee. You can also build out your own website and do something similar. If you have that monetized YouTube channel, you can do YouTube memberships. Now, the whole crowdsourcing thing is probably one of the very hardest ways to start earning any kind of real revenue. But if you do it well, it's the best way to own that customer relationship and build a loyal fan base. I've personally had a Patreon for almost 2 years, but out of all my Avenue streams, this is probably the one where I bring in the lowest amount of monthly income, but I continue to work at it. In the end, there's no one way to make money with micro-budget films. In fact, most financial experts will tell you that you need to diversify income streams. And I fully believe that the future of independent filmmaking will be a combination of several, if not all of the methods I just talked about. So have at it. But keep in mind, however you end up distributing, you need something to distribute first. So whatever you do, keep making movies.